Are there 3 Nika? Has Oda deceived us? Today I'm bringing you a theory that tries to shed some light on the whole Nika topic and the doubts that emerged around his figure in chapter 1136 of the manga. I'm convinced that at the very least this theory will get you thinking for a while and make you question absolutely everything we know. If you enjoy these kinds of videos, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel right now to help me reach 3,000 subscribers and make my dream come true. Alright, let's get started with the video. Alright, let's dive into the first point and spice it up a bit. So chapter 1136 of One Piece is where Oda really starts stirring the pot about Nika. Like, we're not just getting vague hints or shadowy figures this time. Nope. He's going all in. In this chapter, they drop a new image of Nika, and this one, way more detailed than the old school silhouette with a loincloth and a spear that we saw before. Now, Nika's decked out with a sword and shield, which is like, wait, what? Where did this come from? It's almost like Oda's teasing us, giving us these breadcrumbs of info about Nika just to watch us scramble for theories. And let's be real, he's probably laughing his head off while we're here connecting dots that might not even exist. But anyway, this chapter takes things up a notch, making it clear that Nika isn't just some simple idea or figure. There's depth, contradictions, and a whole lot of mystery. It's the chapter where you start thinking, okay, this isn't just about Luffy anymore. There's something bigger at play here. Alright, let's talk about the second point because things get real messy here. In chapter 1136, we get this wild debate about who or what Nika actually is. And honestly, nobody agrees on anything. One dude's like, Nika is the god of the sun, while another's all, nah bro, he's the god of liberation. Then someone else chimes in, you're both wrong, he's the god of war. And to top it off, another guy's like, he's the god of laughter, obviously. It's pure chaos. These characters are going back and forth with their theories, and you're just sitting there like, is anyone right, or is everyone just pulling stuff out of thin air? What makes it even juicier is the fact that this disagreement stems from some ancient divine text called Harley, which apparently no one can fully translate because it's written in some ancient language, so everyone's just interpreting it however they want. But the one thing they all do agree on, Nika is connected to the sun somehow. That's the one common thread, but everything else is up for grabs. It's like Oda's throwing out a giant puzzle and saying, good luck solving it, suckers. Alright, now let's get into the third point because this one's got some serious Osh-Teat vibes. So in chapter 1136, we learn something absolutely bonkers. Nika's been around during not one, but 2 world-ending events. Like every time the world's been absolutely wrecked, this dude or whatever Nika is shows up. Coincidence? I think not. The story lays it out. Nika's tied to these massive, game-changing moments in history. And what's wild is that everyone who's in power, yep, the big shots at the top, they're scared out of their minds about Nika making a comeback. Why? Because Nika's whole vibe is about freedom and hope. And let's be real, people in power do not like those words floating around. What's even cooler and kind of poetic is that Nika isn't just seen as some destructive force or a hero. He's this symbol for those who want to break free, for people craving liberation. He's got that whole light at the end of the tunnel energy, which is why folks rally around the idea of him. And then there's his look, dressed in white with flowing clouds, laughing like he doesn't have a care in the world. Honestly, Nika's whole aesthetic screams hope and rebellion. Alright, let's talk about the fourth point, because this is where the theories get wild. So apparently there's this popular idea floating around that Nika isn't just one person or entity. There might actually be multiple Nikas. Yeah, you heard that right. People are speculating that there are 2, maybe even 3 versions of Nika. And here's where it gets spicy. Some folks think one of them could be Kurohige, Blackbeard, because of his freaking Yami Yami no Mi. The theory basically says that the Yami Yami could be another type of Nika power, like a dark counterpart to Luffy's Gomu Gomu, or well, Nika fruit. And then some fans have gone completely off the rails and suggested there's a third Nika connected to characters like Loki or even Imu. It's like everyone's lining up to get a piece of this god of the sun action. What makes this idea stick is how different cultures in the story might interpret Nika. Depending on who you ask, he's a hero, a destroyer, or some kind of divine figure. So naturally people are like, what if there's more than one Nika out there, each with their own vibe and powers? And honestly, the theory kind of works. I mean, we've seen some insane stuff in One Piece, so having multiple Nikas doesn't feel that far-fetched. It's the kind of chaotic, plot-twisty thing Oda would absolutely do just to mess with us. Alright, let's hit the fifth point, and this one's got some real-world flavor to it. The theory draws a parallel between Nika and One Piece, and how gods work in different cultures IRL. You know, like how pretty much every culture has their version of a thunder god, Zeus, Thor, Raijin, you name it, but they're all kind of doing the same job. The idea is that Nika could just be one figure seen through the lens of different cultures in the One Piece world, with each group putting their own spin on him. For example, the Giants might see Nika as the god of war, because duh, they're all about fighting. Meanwhile, in Skypiea, he's the god of the sun, because sunlight's what keeps their crops growing and their society thriving. Over in Impel Down, they'd worship him as the god of liberation, since breaking out of chains is a pretty big deal for, you know, prisoners and slaves. And then there's the god of laughter, which totally fits with Nika's goofy, carefree vibe and that whole laughing out loud aesthetic he's got going on. The idea is super straightforward, but makes a ton of sense. Every culture in One Piece takes what they need from Nika's story and adapts it to fit their values and struggles. It's the kind of world-building detail that Oda excels at, making his world feel massive and diverse, where the same figure can mean totally different things depending on who's telling the story. Pretty cool, right? Alright, let's dig into the 6th point, because this one's all about keeping it simple and logical. Kinda rare in One Piece theories, right? So, instead of diving into the wild idea of multiple Nikas or crazy fruit conspiracies, there's a theory that says the differences in how Nika is described are because of different users of the same fruit over the centuries. Basically, the idea is that the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika has been passed down through time, and every person who's eaten it brought their own flair to it. Like, think about it. Joy Boy might have had the fruit back in the Void Century, and he used its powers in a way that fit his role in history. Then, over the years, others could have inherited it, each one leaving their mark. That's why you've got different images, one with a spear, another with a sword and shield, etc. It's like every Nika was the same base power, but their personal style and context changed the way people remembered them. This theory makes a lot of sense when you consider how ancient the One Piece world is. We're talking over 800 years of history here, so it's not crazy to think there have been multiple users of this fruit, each inspiring their own legends. It's a neat way to explain all the conflicting descriptions without throwing in wild twists like 3 Nikas or Kurohige is secretly Nika. It also keeps things grounded in the way devil fruits already work. You eat it, you get the power, and you become the new Nika. Simple, logical, and totally Oda-esque. He's the king of making something feel huge without overcomplicating it. Alright, here's my take on the 7th point, and honestly, I think this ties everything together in the cleanest way possible. Look, I love a good wild theory as much as the next person, but sometimes the simplest answer is the best one. To me, Nika is less about being some ultra-complex mystery with 3 versions or secret identities. It's about how Oda uses him to play with perception, history, and culture in the One Piece world. Here's what I think. Nika isn't meant to be this singular, fully defined figure. Instead, he's more of an idea, a symbol that shifts depending on who's telling the story. Every culture and time period interprets Nika differently because, let's face it, people project their values and fears onto the things they don't fully understand. That's why some people think of him as the god of liberation, while others see him as a destructive force, or even just the dude who laughs all the time. It's the same figure, but filtered through centuries of storytelling, bias, and cultural perspective. What's genius about this is that it mirrors real-world mythology. Just like Zeus, Thor, and Raijin are all thunder gods with their own cultural spins, Nika could be one figure interpreted 100 different ways. And honestly, this fits Oda's style perfectly. He's always about tying his world back to bigger themes like freedom, identity, and how stories evolve over time. So yeah, while the idea of multiple Nikas or crazy fruit theories is fun to think about, I don't think Oda needs to go that far. The simplest explanation, that Nika is one figure interpreted differently over centuries, feels way more grounded and honestly more impactful. It's the kind of storytelling twist that makes One Piece so much more than just pirates fighting each other. And that's the whole theory about Nika. What do you think about it? Do you agree, or do you have a more interesting idea? If so, let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button and subscribe to help me reach 3,000 subscribers and make my dream come true. A big hug, and I'll see you in the next video.